Good afternoon, and good morning for some. Welcome to Spectrum Reach Live. I'm Multiscreen, Senior Field Marketing Specialist with Spectrum Reach, and I'm so glad that you could join us today. Today, we'll be discussing multi-screen advertising campaigns. And over the next 20 minutes, we'll break down how it works, how you can create a campaign across every screen, and how local businesses just like yours can be able to scale from TV to all screens. Now, joining me now is Ben Van Horn, Senior Director of Advanced Advertising Sales. Ben, how are you?
Hey, Montes, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm awesome, man. It's so good to see you. So let's jump right into this conversation. For our viewers who have never seen, never heard of multi-screen or don't know anything about it, can you define multi-screen campaigns for us?
Yeah, absolutely. The pandemic lately has created a whole new lifestyle for many of us over the last few months. And so when we look at our media consumption, yes, people are watching more video than ever before, but they're also spending a lot more time online as well on multiple devices, on multiple screens. And so what's really critical for marketers nowadays is to think about how they advertise to reach people across any screen and any device with a holistic cross-platform marketing strategy. And that's essentially what multi-screen is.
So why do you think that it's important for businesses of any size to really have a multi-screen campaign strategy in their marketing plan?
I think if you think of us as consumers first, then as marketers, we think about that consumption, right? And the way things have changed. So whether people are working from home, they've got families or in a virtual learning environment, we have to understand that the way people are consuming media has changed quite a bit. And so knowing that, we have to take advantage of the ways that we can get our message across in different ways. Example is this proliferation of connected devices and smart TVs, that the way we think about television has changed dramatically. In fact, Nielsen just came out with some stats that in Q2 of this year, streaming makes up 25% of total TV usage versus just 19% at the end of last year. And people are spending 142 billion minutes a week on average, streaming. So when you take those things into consideration and you think about how we can make sure our customers can reach their potential future customers, whether it's live TV or streaming, it's online, or just being there when people are searching for their product or type of service. That's the key to looking at things holistically.
When we talk about the different devices and connected devices, streaming TV and mobile and tablets and things, can you share a little bit more about the convergence of screens and how local businesses can now have access to that?
Yeah, we think about this as a unified strategy, right? We don't think of it as an either or. And so at Spectrum Reach, we look at impressions across all screens. If we find the right audience and we think about how they consume media, let's find them no matter how they are engaging with their phone or their TV or whatnot. And so I think if you have a unified solution and you're looking at reaching people across all those different platforms, that's going to deliver greater success.
Wow. Now, Ben, can you share with our viewers some insight on the average number of screens in the U.S. households, and why is that important for businesses to know?
Yeah, Deloitte did a study late last year that on average, every household has 11 connected devices, and that's just to watch video. So you think of all the other things, your thermostats and your refrigerators and everything, it's pretty mind-blowing. But it's important because the way we think about our cross-platform strategies have to change. Mm-hmm. And we have to think about how do we reach people on any of those devices. And again, I mentioned before, having that unified strategy is really, really critical.
Now, Ben, keeping that statistic in mind, what are the top 3 things that you would say that every business should have in order to have a successful multi-screen advertising campaign?
Yeah, I could easy. Number one, start with audience, right? Don't get caught up in platforms and technology. Start with the audience. Who do you want to reach? What do they look like? Where do they live? Where do they work? And use data as a powerful tool to really hone on the audience that you want. I think second, then think about that consumption and the way that audience that you want to reach. Do they spend more time online, than streaming? What are they watching on television? Then you start picking your media partner and the platforms to reach them. And then I think third, creative and messaging is absolutely critical. And 2 reasons, right? Number one is that you want to think about, the length of your commercial on TV may be different than what you have on social, and that's okay. But having a consistency of message across all those devices, your call to action, what do you want people to do? And what is the brand promise that you want them to stick with them afterwards is really important. And having that consistent just makes it less confusing for customers and more likely that they're going to remember your brand and what you have to offer.
Wow, that's why you're the multi-screen expert. There you have it, folks. Ben, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm sure that we'll hear more from you later on in the show. Thank you. Speaking of creative, let's bring in our creative experts, Tim Chizano, VP of Production and Creative Services, and Michelle Diedrich, Director of Campaign Strategy. How are you both? Nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
Now, Michelle, we just recently had a conversation with Ben, and we were talking about the multi-screen platform, and he brought up a great point about creative. And the word campaign can seem ambiguous to some. Could you define a creative campaign in your own words?
Sure. And I think Ben did a great job talking about the importance of convergence across media and bringing all of those messages and having that level of consistency. So when we're looking at a campaign, what we're talking about from a client perspective is coming up with one clear goal that we're trying to accomplish. What are we trying to either educate consumers on or drive consumers to do? And how do we focus our storytelling and our messaging around that? No matter where the message is running, no matter what platform it's on, how do we stay consistent? And when we put those together, when we have that one clear objective, a great creative execution that stays consistent across platforms and has a lot of different executions based on who your audience is and where you're reaching them, that's when we have a campaign. And as we can develop this from a brand perspective, we can continue to develop the story as we shift to new and different ways of executing it, still growing a client's brand. So campaign is really coming up with that one clear idea of what we're trying to accomplish and making sure we execute it well across all the platforms.
Now, Tim, when we talk about messaging and what goes into it, and what should people say, and how does it look, how does that conversation go when you're having that conversation with businesses?
I'd like to steer them in the direction of doubling down on being authentic. I think if you can be bold with who you are as a brand, with who your company is, its people, your products, if you can really own that wholeheartedly, then you have an awesome opportunity to get that message out there in a way that is going to resonate. It's ultimately what makes you different. It's what's going to make you stand out. If you combine your own bold authenticity with the context of multi-screen, you have the potential for some magic there.
So, how can a business use a campaign to build a customer's perception of their business? And is there room to still talk about sales and products, Tim?
Absolutely. When you start with a bold, authentic approach, you keep in mind the context of the screen and who you're talking to. Ultimately, you want to lead people to why you're in front of them in the first place. If you have those first two dots connected well, I think it becomes very organic to start talking about your products, what sales you might have, and ultimately bringing them into the conversation about what they can do to engage with who you are and your products and your services. And it's going to resonate that much more. And I think that there's a genuine connection there.
Michelle, I'll ask you, when it comes to choosing video and choosing a particular piece of creative for the right screen, how does one go about that? How do you know which specific video and creative that you're going to be recording is going to be great for the screens that you're planning to use in your campaign?
Well, one of the things that we'd say is also remember what Ben said about remembering how you consume media. It's the same kind of approach. We want to be thinking about how is your consumer consuming media on that platform. So once we've identified that they're there and that this is a great place to reach them and communicate with them, how do we do that in a way that's consistent with how they're consuming that media so that we're making sure that it's part of the experience and not something that's kind of jarring them out of it. So we really want to focus on developing the right message for the platform so that it's something that really can engage consumers with the moment they're in right there.
So I'm sure both of you guys are your eyes are always open and looking at the way the different campaigns are going. So this question is for both of you, and Tim, we can start with you. In the past 6 months, what campaigns have you seen that had some creative that's kind of stuck out to you?
Kentucky Fried Chicken recently did a campaign in which a franchise owner from Australia went on a mission to get a Michelin star. It sounded almost fictitious when I started to digest it. And it was one of the most remarkable pieces of creative that I've seen recently. They doubled down on their authenticity. They fully owned who they were. They looked at the pure definition of what it takes to get a Michelin star, spread that story across all screens. It started to pick up a lot of organic traction. And it was just a really interesting approach that was obviously resonated and delivered a lot of impressions for them.
Wow. Michelle, what about you?
You know, one of the things I've loved in the past 6 months is seeing how brands that have established messaging and branding that are very, as you know, Tim has put it, authentic and true to them, have adapted in the new world order. And one of the ones that has done a phenomenal job of that is Progressive Insurance. They were one of the first groups that came out and did an ad where they encapsulated what life looks like now. And life looks like a lot of people in little boxes on your screen. And that's the way meetings look at this age. So they were able to meet consumers with where they were right there in the moment with something that was funny and engaging and acknowledged the world that we're in and some of the circumstances, but did it in a way that was completely consistent with who Progressive was and how they've been building their brand. So, you know, there's been a few of those, but that's one of the ones that really just caught my eye because they were so smart about how they did it. So it doesn't have to be all we all stand together messaging. It can all be, hey, we're all in it together because sometimes you can't get your tech to work.
That's right. That's right. Well, our creative experts, thank you both so much, Tim and Michelle, for joining us. And again, I wish you much continued success in the rest of your future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Let's bring back Ben, our multi-screen expert, and add to the screen Tara McDonald, local sales manager in Albany, to our discussion. Hi, Tara. Thank you for bringing a special guest to help us put all the pieces together.
Thanks, Montez. I'd like to welcome Jim Carpenter, the marketing director for Curtis Lumber. Jim oversees 22 home improvement centers in upstate New York and Vermont. His marketing efforts reach multiple audiences in both the B2C and the B2B space. He and I have had the opportunity to work together on many campaigns over the past 10 years, and he's a great partner of ours, and I'm happy to welcome Jim to the conversation. Jim, could you share with our viewers what it was that drew you to marketing?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thanks a lot for including me into today's conversation. But for me, I've always really enjoyed storytelling. And when you really get down to it, advertising and marketing is really all about telling a story. And like any kind of storytelling, the stories are always best told to the right people. So, you know, they're more engaged, they're more interested in the things that you have to say to them. And advertising and marketing is no different. So as my career has grown, you know, I've practiced the art of becoming a better storyteller.
Welcome, Jim. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Jim, can you tell our LinkedIn audience how you use multi-screen advertising and how do you approach your targeting?
Sure. So we're a little bit unique in our business is 60-40 business to business on the professional side. So professional contractors, home builders, folks like that. And then 40% pure home improvement centers with consumers. We cover kind of a diverse geographic area, and we have a wide variety of products. If you can think of anything that goes into a home, from the blocks all the way to the roof, and then the things that you use to outfit it on the inside. So because of the variety of what we do, you know, we have a wide variety of customer types and things. And we've really looked at over the years how consumer habits have changed, how people want what they want when they want it. And on the advertising side, we see the same exact trend. So appointment TV has kind of fallen out. It's not totally, but folks want to watch things on demand. They want to watch them on different styles of screen. They want to watch them when they're ready to watch them, as opposed to 9 p.m. on Thursday night. So, you know, we've also, because of the wide variety of customers that we have, you know, we look at the data that Spectrum uses in order to help us find the right people and deliver them the right message. So we've really developed our targeting around our core customers, and then we've developed our messaging to meet that. So we have more creative than ever, and we're reaching more audiences than ever.
Now, Jim, you've been doing multi-screen advertising for a while now. You know, what advice or tips would you give to a business who is thinking or considering about adding it to their marketing plan?
You know, I would really encourage all business owners to explore multi-screen advertising, because if you think about it, traditional advertising has a lot of waste with it. So you're buying if you want to reach a large number of people, you might reach a variety of people you don't want to reach too. So if you really know who you want and what you want, you know, multi-screen advertising lets you reach just exactly the right customer at the right time with exactly the right message. So the Spectrum product offering has grown over the past 5 years that we've been using it, and it really now with the type of data and multi-platforms and all the different ways, it's really an efficient way to spend money, and they have products that can reach customers for you as a business owner on whatever budget you might have. I really think that other business owners probably don't realize that if you can tell your story, they can help you reach exactly the right audience at exactly the right time and turn them into customers.
Wow. Thank you so much for the insight. Tara, real briefly, you've been working with Jim for a while. Can you share for someone who's never done multi-screen advertising, what was that process like, or what was that conversation like when you introduced multi-screen advertising to Jim?
So we've been doing it together for a number of years now. And in the beginning, it was really that we had to be in the space. The space was growing. We know that viewers were watching TV differently. So it was about being in the space. Fast forward to now, and it's really about the audience. It's about who we're trying to reach and the data that we have to help our clients reach them. Being that the different platforms and the different audiences that are now available because of the growth. The growth and the consumers kind of drive the outcome of what we can offer. And because that's grown so much, we're able to be very granular with targeting from a geography perspective to an audience lifestyle perspective. And for business owners, it really starts with the conversation between the account executive and the client and just understanding what their needs are, who their best potential audience is, what the geography is that's important to them. And then the account executive comes back into the office and the work goes on behind the scenes, and we keep it really simple and easy for the client. And we're able to use that data to put together a holistic approach and a holistic campaign for the client.
Wow, thank you. Ben, while we have you in the conversation, just real briefly, what do you think, or what have you seen been some of the biggest or one of the biggest misperceptions of multi-screen advertising?
The misperception that it's too hard, right? It's too complicated. And I think I think what we've been able to show is if we concentrate on, audience first, and we concentrate on creative messaging and making sure that consistency, we can make it a lot more streamlined and less complicated than it needs to be. And I think, Jim just said it great, right? Which is if we're focusing on relevancy, right? And getting our message in front of that right audience, we're gonna minimize waste there. And so I think, trying to let people know that, we can make it simple. We can make it strategic if we utilize the data and the resources that we have. We can make it fun and make sure that you're getting the results that you want to get on the back end too.
Awesome. Tara, Jim, and Ben, thank you all so much for this conversation. And I wish you all much continued success in your partnership. Thank you.
Thanks, Montez.
Thank you.
If you want to learn more about multi-screen advertising, check out the resource section in our notes in the comment section. And again, keep the conversation going. Thank you so much for tuning in to Spectrum Reach Live. I'm Montez Bird, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.